We're going to do a different take to news today. So the first thing we're going to be covering here is Crossover. It's a new card that actually got released this morning out of Warrior Strike. It was actually on the poster. So also, going throughout the next couple of days, you'll be seeing more news. So Crossover here. You can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn. And it's not an equip card. Any time that I don't have to play equip cards in a deck is a win-win for me, like, especially for Warriors. So you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and one Warrior monster you control. Equip that opponent's face-up monster to your monster. And if you do any battle damage, that monster you control inflicts to your opponent becomes 0 for the rest of this turn. If it will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy the equipped monster by this effect instead. Hold up here. Did you actually just give me a generic spell card that I can use on my opponent's warrior monsters? On my warrior monsters, take over my opponent's monsters, and equip them onto my own card for a singular spell card? That's kind of interesting, actually. I don't know how I feel about this. I will say that in terms of generic card development, it's not a -1. It's actually a 1. It's actually a +1 for you, because you get to take the opponent's monster and equip it to your own and use it as fodder for your own stuff. But it does target, and that sometimes is a no-no. But hey, warrior-based decks, hey, Noble Knights. Good news, everybody. If you play Noble Knights, you can now make your opponent's monsters your weapons, right? Like, that's what I'm getting out of this for the most part. So, okay, pretty free there, I guess. Like, I guess you take what you kind of get, right? It doesn't seem absolutely that amazing. Now, the next one we have here is the Linguriboh, which is our dark Cyberse angry compadre of a Karibo. So it is 300, and it is, of course, dark Cyberse, and its requirements are 1 level 4 lower Cyberse monster. Looks like they learned from Linguriboh's mistakes. So you can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. When an opponent's trap card is activated, you contribute this card to negate that effect, and if you do, banish it. Well, this is a Link 1 that, as long as I make it through the Cyberse, I get to negate an opponent's trap card just by attributing this guy. That's pretty good, and I can only use one of these per turn? Okay. That seems free to me. If this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you contribute one Ignister monster that was special summoned from your extra deck to special summon this card. Alright guys, let's be honest here. I don't know at what point I'm going to be attributing a monster that was special summoned from my extra deck to revive this guy. I'm going to just be honest with you, especially if everything I've seen for the Ignister archetype so far. Leaving them on the field seems really good. But this is a generic one for Cyberse that goes bottom left. And that in itself is good. Also, I mean, let's be honest here for a sec, guys. Come on. If trap cards become relevant again, we have a counter to them, which seems... I'll take it, in my opinion. It doesn't seem good now, alright? But in the distant future, when traps are ravaging Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, this will be okay, in my opinion. Outside of that, it seems a little bit slow. Now, we actually have the Turbulent Danger Disaster. So everybody was thinking that this was going to be a Danger Link monster, but no. Instead, we got a field spell for Danger monsters. So, it's a field spell, by the way. So, you know, use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. So when a Danger monster you control is destroyed in battle by your opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster. Anybody else feel reminiscent of Golden Castle of Strongenberg here? But that just means that you have to get over the Danger monster, which, good luck, by the way. All the dangers are ridiculously huge in their own right. So, for the most part, the first effect is pretty okay for what you'd expect out of this. The second effect, you can banish 3 danger spell and trap cards with different card names from your graveyard, destroy all cards on the field. Also, you cannot special summon monsters except for danger monsters the rest of this turn. Straight honesty here, what other danger spells and traps were ever actually good? The draw discard one was probably about it, but you have to banish different names to get the full effect off of this. That just seems really neg to me, especially things like Response Team weren't really good, and I think we had a couple of other danger cards that were kind of questionable in terms of like the card's conception, but I guess for an archetype base card that can wipe a board in a pure build, this isn't terrible support, at least my 2 cents. Now, we had some other stray things that kind of came up on the back burner over the last couple of days. One of them was the Coogee Kiri amulet. Now, this was kind of interesting because this was the first time that we got a trade-in for level 9s. So literally all the card is just send 1 level 9 monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. Now, the biggest things that get a boost from this, you know that new archetype, the Generades that are coming out? We actually have draw power for the deck. Finally. I'll be honest, one of the things that was stopping a lot of players from actually even looking at that deck was the fact that once your hand starts clumping together, you can't do anything. Like, you had issues. And it's also the same thing with playing a True King deck now. You get means to fuel off of your True Kings. In addition to, Dragonic Diagram and other crazy effects that you've already kind of got in-house for that build. The fact that you have this now is really good. The downside to this, though, is you can only activate 1 of these per turn. I don't really think it was all that fair to put the stipulation on this that this was restricted, because honestly, trade-in isn't once per turn, so turbo ability and options like that, in terms of balancing, like, I guess level 9s just needed it a little bit more of a restriction, but Blue Eyes is still free to turbo through their entire deck all they want, and then level 9s just have to suffer, so that's an interesting restriction in its own right. So I guess you take what you can get in terms of your draw power and management. And then the last thing that came up in terms of the news department was the Time Thief Perpetua. And seeing more Time Thief support, especially since it was a TCG based archetype, was kind of interesting for a lot of the player base, because we didn't actually think this was coming. It should have been a Link monster, but giving Time Thieves that was too much. So it's standard 2 level 4s, 1900 attack, 2500 defense. Literally almost the reverse of our little other friend. So you can only use first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. And then during the standby phase, detach material from this card. Then you can target a Time Thief monster in your graveyard except for Perpetua and special summon it. So you at least get to bring back Redoer to continue on with your loops that you're doing with that. At least for more generic recursion, which in the Time Thief archetype, that's pretty good. Then quick effect, you can target 1 Xyz monster you control except this card. Attach 1 Time Thief card from your deck to its material. Well, if Time Thieves ever actually get a Link monster and more generic support as a whole, this card's pretty good because it creates deck thinning. You get to clear out the specific extenders that your deck actually wants out of it. The revivers, mind you. Like the dog does a pretty good job at being one of those, but outside of that, this was just a very good designed card. And, like I said, we need about another 4 cards to make this thing good. Like, the base core engine itself was pretty alright, but that was an era for another time. Had we gotten this archetype much sooner, it would have been a little bit more interesting. But that is really the stuff that we kind of missed over the last couple of days. So guys, comment down below, tell me what you guys think about these stray missing cards. And I'm out, guys. Peace. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a truffle shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out VanCole40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.